All right, guys, what is going on? What is good? Hope you guys are having a phenomenal day today. Today is Monday, October 9th, 2023. I moved my webcam around, so I might look slightly different, or it might be positioned slightly different today. I was trying to get it to where it wouldn't look so grainy, and I don't think I fixed it. So I don't know. ISO, aperture, who knows, man? Lighting, I don't even know. I don't know. You know? But it's all good. We'll figure it out. But as long as you guys can see and hear, then we should be all right. We should be good. Naruto's painting today. Very nice. Was good. Edgar, Willow, Naruto, Eli, Nina. What up, what up? Dad is on babysitting duties today. No, that's cool, man. I'm not doing anything today. I can tell you that. I've been watching. I definitely have been watching, but I don't see myself participating in anything today. So I do want to have a brief discussion with you guys, though. Let me just turn the music back on. For myself, at least. You guys can listen to whatever you want while we have a brief discussion today. As far as updates go, remember you have 1 full week to upgrade from either 1 or 2 up to 3. Anyone who is a tier 1 or 2 will not be here Monday of next week. They will be gone. And that's that. So this is your last week to upgrade before you lose access. All right. Let me see. Outside of that, today is it's a holiday. The markets are still open. And for that reason, I'm not doing anything here. Without getting into too much detail. See, we only have like 10 or 11 people on here anyway, so that's not a surprise. I think we all know. I mentioned this on my Instagram earlier. I think we all know what's going on in the world. And I really don't want to talk too much about that. But I have to use current events as lessons because it's real life. You know what I mean? So the thing is, whenever things happen, I mean, it could be the Olympics or sports. It could be a presidential election. It could be, I mean, you see what's going on in the world right now, right? And so I want to use this time, especially today because of the bank holiday and me not trading. I want to use this time to really explain that. And I'm not saying that this is a good thing, okay? But what I am saying is this is an opportunity to apply the very things you've been learning. Right? We have just pull up OBS again. Okay? You guys have the Daily Stoic. If there's one thing I think the camera did do is I think I focused a little bit more so you guys can see the books a little bit more clearly. I'm pretty sure, which I think is badass. So, you know, the Daily Stoic, everybody should have a copy of this one by now. And if you don't, well, what are you doing? And but secondly, right, it's one page of wisdom, Stoic philosophy every single day. So I know Nikki has it because you post all the time. Maybe not every day, but I know you post pages like all the time, so I know you have it. And a lot of other people have it too. And let me ask you, Nikki, before we continue, what have you thought so far? I mean, I know it's been at least a few months, probably longer, but I know at least for 3, 4, 5 months, maybe even 6 months or longer, you've had it. So, you know, what has your experience been reading this every day? Or if you're like me, you might skip a couple days and have to go back 2 or 3 pages. I ain't gonna, you know, I ain't gonna judge you. I do it. All right. Saturday and Sunday, Saturday I usually don't. Sundays is when I usually catch up on Saturday. Willow reads it in chunks. Yeah, see, that's fine too. I understand. But I mean, have you enjoyed it? Have you learned things from it? Have you been able to go out into the world and find opportunities like, oh, well, I should do this, or I want to do that, but you know, philosophy says to do something else. I want to do this, but I'm going to do this instead. Has that happened for you yet? Was good, Ivan. Was good, Leon. BPI and CPI later this week. Also, yes, that is true. Was good, Vadu. He says it's great reading in the morning. It definitely changes my perspective through daily life. And some days it is spot on with exactly what I need to hear. No, I like that. Willow says I can't just read one page. I always want to read more. Yeah, I understand. Keeps me grounded. Reminds me not to let that short fused Marine in me shine through. Well, the military is a whole nother conversation, brother. Whole nother conversation. You know, less than 1% of the population, but it's fine. So anyway, because I do want to remind you that the Stoics, as Ryan Holiday would say, were not pen and ink philosophers. They were not, let's just talk about it and not be about it. If anything, it was the inverse. They were like, look, it's cool. We can meet up. We can have discussions. I can teach you things, right? And Arian was writing all this stuff from Epictetus down and everything. And that's all fine and great. But I'm pretty sure at some point, Epictetus at least was like, all right, class is over. Go apply what you know. I also think it was Epictetus who said, don't, shit, I'm going to botch this up. There's so many quotes I can't remember. It's like, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Right? In other words, don't talk about it, be about it. So for someone, I think, who might get into, let's say, reading, for example, and I've said this for years too, especially as a student, when you start to learn things, don't just learn and then be addicted to learning. You need to learn something and then go, okay, now I'm going to go apply it. What's the point of learning the mitigation model if you don't go look for, you know, trade ideas? What's the point of learning risk management if you're just going to bet the farm on every trade, right? So Stoic philosophy, or even just philosophy in general, it's the same idea. You know, you learn things, and then when you go out into the world, you go to work, or you spend time with friends and family, or you go grocery shopping or driving or whatever, you know, anything outside of trading, that's when you get to apply your philosophy. So for example, and that's why I opened up with this today about, you know, what's going on in the world. Everybody is sharing their opinion, right? Oh, pray for this side, pray for that side, pray for both sides, you know, and it's like, one thing is myself, I used to always have an opinion too. And I used to always voice that opinion. I used to share political memes. I used to call people out on something stupid that they said, or try to argue with people who I knew were wrong, right? And so one thing that I am reminded of from Marcus Aurelius is that you don't always have to have an opinion. And that is pretty much my opinion about everything that's going on. I said this on my my Instagram story 3 hours ago. I said, it's clear there are many things happening in the world. Maybe you're nervous, anxious, confused, angry, etc., whatever range of emotions. All I can say is to remind yourself of what's in your control and what's not in your control, right? Epictetus, the dichotomy of control, right? But you've been given tools, the tools of reasoning. Use them. I think it was Aristotle who said that's the difference. That's what separates man from animal, is that we are rational, right? We are rational beings. We have the capability of reason to some degree or another, because not everybody's reasonable. But we'll continue. I followed up that story and I said, in a world of fake news, propaganda, lies, and cover-ups, be slow to forming judgments. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself in Meditations, you always have the option of not having an opinion. So you can have an opinion, you can not have an opinion, and you can also have an opinion but choose not to share it. You know, that's a thing too. Like typically, like I'll give you a perfect example. I typically, when it comes to like political ideas, I typically lean to the right. I typically agree more with Republicans than I do with Democrats. Okay, typically. But at the same time, I don't vote. The webcam, what the fuck? See, they're already starting with the bullshit, bro. What's happening? Is it stuck again? See, you fuck around with the settings and it gets all fucked up. All right. Let me restart OBS probably. Oh no, we should be good now. Damn. I mean, darn, sorry. Been trying to work on that. Been trying to work on it. Anyway. What I was saying. Okay, what I was saying is what's good, Sean and Edgar? That's right. So I don't vote, okay, but I do typically lean more right than I do left. But that doesn't always mean that I share what I think. Okay. What's good, Krusty? It's such a crazy name. Like the Krusty Krab or Krusty the Clown. But with a K. What's good? The Democratic senator disconnected the webcam. It's probably true. But no, I tried to mess with the settings and I get, there might be a timer. I fucking hope, I mean, I hope there's not one, but if there is, I'm gonna have to fix that too. But anyway, back to the point. Let's come back. What I've been trying to tell you is now is a good time to apply what you've been learning philosophically. In a world of social media that is constantly sharing their opinions, now is a great time to not have one. Or maybe you do have one. right? I mean, because everybody has different beliefs and whatever and all that. And you might feel strongly about what's happening in the world. And I'm not going to knock you for it. But what I would tell you is this: as someone who lives in America, I live in Houston, Texas. I know for a fact that the news is not real news. Like, it's not real life. They don't tell you the truth. They spin things a certain way. They portray a message that they want you to have. So if the news is presenting something that they want me to believe in, I'm probably going to do the opposite. So if they're saying, hey, purple's the best color, I'm going to go, I'm team blue then. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, they're known for that. And social media, I would say, is even worse. It's even worse. So who do you listen to in a world where everything can be faked? Oh, here's footage of this, here's footage of that. Bro, we have AI that can do all kind of shit. I mean, there's videos that are 5-10 years old being passed off as something that's happening today. Fear tactics and propaganda and false information. Fake news, as some people say. But it's absolutely true that the news is fake. You know what I'm saying? So you can't trust everything that you see on the internet. So let me ask you this. Can you form an opinion on something that you don't have all the information on? You don't have all the facts on. You can't. It's like if you judge a book by its cover, or if you judge a 300-page book by the first 10 pages, or you judge a movie in the first 5 minutes, you're making an opinion that it's not complete. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I think now's a really good time to simply not have an opinion. Citizen, journalist, and free speech, but it's very difficult. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing with journalists and journalism as well, is that it's not about being right, it's about being first. So it's not about accuracy, it's about speed. And even if you follow, say, journalists who are independent, which, I mean, I've seen some before, you know, and they work off of donations or whatever. And that's cool. But journalists, I believe, often times have political leanings, and journalists can spin things the same way that the media can. Okay, look, I don't consider myself a writer. I mean, I wrote and published one book. Okay, I've written a second one. It's almost done. It's leaning towards done. It's not finished yet, but it's getting very close to being finished. Okay. And one thing I can tell you about writers is that when a writer does research or has a team that does research for them, a lot of the times what you'll see is they have an idea. Okay. And then they will find a story to fit that narrative. They will find a story to fit that criteria. I mean, Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power. I mean, Mastery, Laws of Human Nature, Art of Seduction, 33 Laws of War, 33 Strategies of War, sorry, and others. I mean, even he said that. He's like, I'm doing research and I'm trying to find stories to use, and if it doesn't, doesn't fit, then you move on or whatever. So even journalists, I think, would do the same thing. There's this idea from Ryan Holiday, and it's actually a pretty good idea. He talks about Gladiator, which is my favorite movie of all time, especially as like a smart money stoic. Gladiator is the best fucking movie of all time, and Matrix, I think, is second. Okay, but and he's not wrong. In the opening scene of Gladiator, the camera does focus, I think, on a bird. It's either a bird or I'm pretty sure it's a bird. It's like a red bird or something. And then the camera changes or zooms out, and then you realize that they're at this war scene. They're getting ready to face this battle. I think the Romans and maybe some barbarians or some, I don't know who the other side is, but and then that's when you see Maximus, Russell Crowe, right? And then they go into battle, and it's bloody and it's interesting, right? But basically, Ryan is going, even in this world of chaos and war and destruction, there's still like beautiful things that can be found. It depends on which lens you use to view things. So it's the same idea. You can find whatever you look for. So if you look for good things, you'll find good things. If you look for bad things, you'll find bad things. If you look for ideas or events to fit the left, you'll find it. If you look for ideas and stories to fit the side of the right, you'll find it. You know what I mean? And there, in my opinion, there are very few people who try to just stick to just what is and not really pick sides, So that's just my point. It's like, who do you trust then? Because everybody is going to fit, or 9 times out of 10, they're going to form fit the message that they want to portray to you. And so everything can't be trusted. And this is even sometimes why I tell you guys, I can show you ideas. I can tell you what I think a mitigation is. Right? Like something like this. Okay. I can always tell you, yeah, if there's a lower low and all the details of what a mitigation is, you can take me at my word and go, okay, great. I can see that this is a mitigation. But it's up to you to go into the chart and let the chart speak for itself. And that's going to teach you more than I can. That's what's going to be able to build your trust more than me telling you. And that goes for any mentor. And that's why I give you guys these things, because I'm not going to be right about everything. I like to think I can be, but I'm probably not. Out of, oh God, thousands of hours of me teaching, I'm pretty sure I've said something that's wrong at some point, So you just got to take things for what they are, but really do your own research into things as well. Am I making sense? That's all that I'm trying to say. Seek and you shall find. Yeah, I understand. So here, let me show you these 4 books I got the other day, and then I'm going to get into a brief discussion. Someone asked me a really good question. I think it's worth discussing, even if it's only for a few minutes. Because I've had this discussion like 2 or 3 times already, and I think it's a good discussion. That looks like equal lows on Nasdaq. Maybe the final hour will deliver us some goodies. I don't know. We'll have to see. I would watch the highs here though. Like watch the highs here and watch the Nasdaq or Dow Jones. See what we do here. And that's what I would be looking for today. So we'll watch this as I show you a couple things. So, book number 1, which I'm almost halfway done. And it's only been a couple days. But anyway, it's called Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. Now, this is a book specifically for writers. So if you want to write a book, then this one's for you. But if you don't plan on doing any writing, then you're not going to like this one. But I am trying to become a better writer, you know, like with the emails, which I know I've fallen behind a little bit on. But, you know, as a teacher, as a mentor, I want to become a better writer. I want to be able to explain things better than I currently do, you know? So this one's not bad. And she's pretty funny too. She's pretty hilarious. I think the longest one out of the few is called Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed. And I did make this a reel as well in a YouTube short. So I did post this already, but you know, for you guys that are, I guess, watching and listening, this is what I'm getting. Okay, Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed. I'm not exactly sure what this one is about. I know there's like advice and stuff. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't got to it yet, but I have it. The shortest one, and the one that I think intrigued probably the most people, is called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And this was the inspiration for the film's Blade Runner. So I think Blade Runner is pretty old, but if you've ever seen it, this is the book that inspired that. So it's pretty short, but I have it, and I will get to it relatively soon. But it's not very long. So there's that. I read the first couple pages of this. I wanted to know a little bit more what it was about, but the last one I'll show you is The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. So this one I found to be very interesting because it says, embrace discomfort and reclaim your wild, happy, healthy self. Let me see. And let me just read you one thing I highlighted yesterday. On page 5, it says, most people today rarely step outside their comfort zones. We are living progressively sheltered, sterile, temperature controlled, overfed, under-challenged, safety netted lives. A little bit later, it says, people are at their best, physically harder, mentally tougher, and spiritually sounder after experiencing the same discomforts our early ancestors were exposed to every day. Scientists are finding that certain discomforts protect us from physical and psychological problems like obesity, heart disease, cancers, diabetes, depression, and anxiety, and even more fundamental issues like feeling a lack of meaning and purpose. So basically, do hard things, seek discomfort, which is a Stoic idea. So again, that one is The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. So can't ever say that I didn't share with you what it is that I'm reading. Oh, we do have a new high on Dow and a new high on ES. And it looks like we're probably going to head for, if we haven't done so already, Sunday's gap. So pretty much, I'm not going to say this is rebalanced, but it's like an immediate gap fill, I guess you could say, reaching back up into Sunday's gap. And then real quick, the metal, silver. Right, last week we talked about this larger imbalance here and how we were respecting that on the daily. Then, of course, Friday being an up day. And then over the weekend, we have gapped up. So I honestly don't know where we go from here. The lows on gold, I think could still be on the table, but I don't know. That could be left open. I just don't know. So we will have to wait and see. But yeah, I watched the open. It was very interesting. Super nice movement, I guess. So speaking of silver, I will have new silver coins tomorrow, which I will show you as well when that comes in. So that'll be cool. How much time should I give myself to read a book? As much as you need, my friend. Do not read for speed, read for comprehension. I buy a lot of books because I have a problem. I keep buying more. But the thing is, I like reading. Oops. I like reading. I like learning new things. I like getting different perspectives. Occasionally, I'll do the stories. But reading is one thing that I did not do in my teens. I barely did in my early 20s to mid 20s. I didn't get to reading until probably 26 or 27. So it's only been like 3 or 4 years that I've been actively reading. So in a way, sometimes I almost feel like I try to catch up on all the things that I should have read but didn't. So, but anyway, yeah, don't try to time yourself. Like, oh, I need to read this book in a week. Like, don't do that. You don't want to force yourself to do that. And you sure do not want to drag yourself along. Oh my God. Oh, we're good. We're good. So anyway, let me get into this brief discussion real quick, and then we'll shut it down for today. So I've had this conversation twice with 2 different people. Now, I will preface this by saying we are going to get slightly religious for a minute. Okay? So if you don't like that idea, then it would probably be best to not stick around. Okay? So if you guys are ready, drop a 1. If you're ready for just this brief discussion. Because the question was specifically, the question was, do you think philosophy is compatible with Christianity? So if you guys want to hear my thoughts on that, drop a 1. Or if you don't, you can, kindly come back tomorrow and we'll go over price action tomorrow. Because that is the question. Do you think philosophy is compatible with Christianity? Now, there are, I would say, there's a lot of religions in this world, okay? And I cannot speak on religions that I don't know about or that I don't believe in, okay? Now, do I know everything about Christianity? I don't, okay? I'm a man with limited information, okay? But the conversations that I've had, I think were pretty fruitful and actually very detailed. With the last 2 people at least that I've had this conversation with. So I think we might have talked about this before here on this channel, but in any case, I like going back into this timeline of historical text. Krusty, the question that I've been getting asked the last couple of days is, do you think philosophy is compatible with Christianity? So it's interesting because Aristotle was a few hundred BC, I think. Seneca and Jesus walked the earth at pretty much the same time. Marcus Aurelius wasn't until about 140 AD or something like that. So he was a little bit after Jesus, but it's interesting this timeline because you go all the way back. Maybe not all the way, but at some point, right, there was King Solomon. That was like 600 years before Christ. And, you know, he was, I guess, the most wise and all this. So what is interesting to me, again, is this timeline of when everything actually occurred. Because Stoic philosophy, meaning like Zeno, the founder, and Chrysippus and others, that was all prior to Christ, okay? And then afterward, even in the realm of Christianity, there are overlaps in ideas, like just practical ideas about living a more virtuous life, okay? Like, easy example, everyone knows, well, most people would know, or have heard of the 10 Commandments, right? Thou shalt not kill, things of that nature. And that's something that most of us can agree with, you know? It's just some basic rules, some basic principles for living peacefully and, you know, being a good person, I guess. It's just where ideas diverge is a little bit later on, where, you know, the Stoics, since Christ had not came down yet or wasn't born yet, the Stoics believed in other things like Zeus and, I guess, gods of rain or the ocean or whatever and all that. So I see the differences in belief system, but I also see this overlap in terms of practical ideas on how to live your life. Everyone knows what the golden rule is. Treat other people how you want to be treated. That we can all agree on. So again, if you think of it like a Venn, I think it's a Venn diagram. I don't know, I haven't been to school in a long time, okay? But I would think of it like this. Y'all ever seen this before? Y'all ever seen something like that? Where there's two separate ideas, but at a certain point they share the same thoughts. And so that's kind of what I'm saying is, for easy example, the Stoics believed in, let's say, nature, okay, or the universe. Okay. Whereas obviously in the name Christianity, they believe in Christ, right? And then so some of the overlaps would be, say, like the golden rule. Oh, the text is too big. Does that make sense? So it's, well, yeah, we'll just leave this out here. Stoics, Christianity, and then, so that's what I'm saying. So the question again is it compatible? Is philosophy, well, because they said philosophy, but I'm very convinced that they meant Stoic philosophy, not just philosophy in general, because there's different schools of thought. But I'm pretty sure he meant Stoic philosophy. So there's a really good book by, oh, I lost it. Dude, no way. No way I lost it, bro. Never mind. I got it. Okay. I was about to get worried. They're just really good book. And I did share this on my my book page, The Wall Shelf. Thomas Kempis. Okay. The Imitation of Christ. So let me share with you just a couple of things, because I promise you this book is mainly about Christ and God, okay? I mean, obviously it's called The Imitation of Christ, so that makes sense, okay? But what I will tell you is this. There are ideas in here that are Stoic in nature. One second. Number 10, on avoiding gossip. Stay away from public meetings as much as you can, for even with the best of intentions, discussion of mundane matters can be a distraction, as we are easily corrupted and ensnared by vanity. Who does that sound like? That's rhetorical. That sounds exactly like Seneca. Seneca said, avoid public crowds, avoid being like the mob. Every time I go and I go to the games, like the Roman Colosseum, gladiators and stuff like that, you know, every time I go out there, I come home and I feel just bad, you know, because I have formed with the mob. I become like them, and I don't want to be like them. It's all good, Willow. Don't worry about it. On chapter 11 on peace and spiritual progress, he says, we could enjoy much peace if we were not bothered by what other people say and do, for they have no concern of ours. Huh. Who does that sound like? Marcus Aurelius. On page 19, he says, if only we would begin by strongly disciplining ourselves, then we would be able later to do everything easily and gladly. It is hard to give up old habits and harder still to conquer our own wills. But if you cannot triumph in small and easy things, how can you succeed in the big things? Who does that sound like? That sounds exactly like Seneca, my friend. Although temptations are so troublesome and grievous, they are also profitable for us. Through them, we are humbled, cleansed, and edified. Stoic idea. I'll give you another one. Judge yourself, but avoid passing judgment on others. In judging others, we spend our energy to no good purpose. Who does that sound like? Marcus Aurelius. Tolerant with others, strict with myself, right? I mean, that's pretty much the same thing. Judge yourself, but don't judge others. Marcus said, strict with myself, tolerant with others. I can keep going. Strive to be patient. Bear with the faults and frailties of others, for you also have many faults, which others have to tolerate. If you cannot mold yourself as you would wish, how can you expect other people to be entirely to your liking? For we expect other people to be perfect, but we do not correct our own faults. I mean, come on. Literally, I can keep going. I mean, this is either one from the Bible or two from Stoic philosophy, or usually both. Here's another one. Shape your intentions in the morning, and at night view your behavior, what you have done, said, and thought during the day. For in all of these things you may have offended both God and your neighbor. Who does that sound like? Again, this is all Thomas Kempis. But who does this sound like? I've been teaching you guys about philosophy for over a year, for over almost 2 years now. If you've read Letters from a Stoic, if you've read Discourses and Selected Writings by Epictetus, if you've read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, who was it that said at night, I'm going to review myself? That was Seneca in Letters from a Stoic. That was when he was banned. I think Nero banned him to an island. And he was saying, yeah, at night, I'll review my day and see what I did well and see what I didn't do well. Bro, that's Seneca. So, let me see if I can give you a couple more. Here's another one. Do not bother yourselves with other people's affairs, nor concern yourself with the affairs of your superiors. Watch yourself at all times and discipline yourself before you lecture your friends. Come on, that's Marcus Aurelius, bro. Our happiness does not consist in the amount of things we possess, for a modest amount is sufficient. Bro, that's Seneca. Come on. That's Seneca. I even shared that earlier on my Twitter. It's not the man who has too little, but he who craves more that is poor. Come on, dog. That's Seneca. You should arrange every action and thought as if it were the day of your death. Bro, that's Memento Mori. That's also Marcus Aurelius. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Because on the same page, Thomas Kempis also says, every morning remember that you may not live until the evening. In the evening, do not presume that you will see another day. Be ready at all times and live so that death may never find you unprepared. Bro, come on. That's Marcus Aurelius. This was Thomas Kempis, 1380 to 1471. This is almost 1400 years after Christianity. This is almost 1400 years after Marcus Aurelius, and that's almost 2000 years past. Well, I may have over-exaggerated that number. I forgot when Zeno was around, but that was a long time after Stoic philosophy. That was a long time after Jesus as well. Anyway, I've only read about half of this one, of the Imitation of Christ. But so in other words, I've probably overstated my point here. But the whole point is, let me read you the back of this. The back of the Imitation of Christ says, one of the most influential and well-known or well-loved books of Christianity, The Imitation of Christ, is a passionate celebration of God's love, mercy, and holiness, which has stimulated religious devotion for over 500 years, so on and so forth. So, in other words, you can... There is a... what's the word he used? Compatible. Right? Because the original question was, do you think philosophy is compatible with Christianity? I think it is. But not all of it, of course, because remember, if we come back, there are a few fundamental differences. Okay? Fundamentally, there are differences. The Stoics believed in nature or the universe or gods, right? But that was prior to Jesus. So later, not that I'm going to get into the whole story, but most people know the story. Okay, Jesus was born to the Virgin Mary, died on the cross for people's salvation, forgiveness, right? So on and so forth. Okay, to sum it up very, very briefly. So in Christianity, that's what Christians believe in, right? Son of God died for our sins so we could be forgiven and make it to heaven, right? So yeah, fundamentally, there's differences. But the practicality of Stoic philosophy is compatible 100%. You think about Epictetus, the slave, right? Later turned philosopher. He was taught by Musonius Rufus, but he's the one who's known for, or gets most of the credit for, the dichotomy of control, right? He says our chief task in life is to separate everything into two categories: what we do control, or what we can control, and what we cannot control. And that has no religious connotations to it. If anything, that can enhance some things in Christianity. So this in other words, like the Stoics would say, okay, I can't change the weather. Why am I worried about it? And I guess a Christian would probably be like, well, I guess God wants it to rain. I don't know. You know what I mean? And you could further enhance it by saying, I'm not going to worry about it because I don't control it, say a situation. Or as a Christian, you could go, hey, you know what? I don't control the situation, but I'm going to let God handle it. Okay. In either case, you are relinquishing control. And you're giving up, trying to worry about it. Does that make, am I making sense? Drop a 2 if you guys understand what I'm trying to get at here. There are differences fundamentally, but on a practical level, they are fairly compatible. So I guess it just depends on which level of wisdom you're looking for. I mean, if you're having an existential crisis and you're super worried about, I don't know, something, you may need to speak to a pastor. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the answers to everything, bro. I do my very best for you guys, but I don't have the answer to everything. But what I do know in a very practical sense is you can study Stoic philosophy and there are things you can take away from it that is compatible with Christianity, is what I think. I mean, I haven't seen otherwise. I say the exact same thing to my friend yesterday: control what you can control and let God, excuse me, and let God do the rest. Right. So what's the real difference? Bible also has some investment ideas, just personal thought. Oh yeah, it does. The Bible has a lot of wisdom. It does. Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, there's probably a few more that I can't remember off the top of my head, but people ask me, like someone asked earlier, like, am I a Christian? I am. But I'm not the best representation of Christianity, though. I can tell you that. I do cuss a lot. I do listen to music that has profanity. I'm not the best face of Christianity. I'm not. But fundamentally, do I believe what I told you earlier about Jesus? Absolutely. That's just my belief. Okay. But I also believe at the same time that we can fundamentally believe different things and still live amongst each other. And that is a point I wanted to make as well. When we get, or I guess with the two conversations that I had with these two individuals, my whole point is the representation. It's the representation. When you believe in something, you become a representative of that, okay? And so think of it like if you're an employee, okay? If you're an employee, what do you do when you get to work? Well, before you get to work, before you leave the house, you put on a uniform, right? Some sort of uniform. Sometimes you got a name tag or whatever, depending on what you work for or whatever. Okay, great. And when you go to this job, either you work at an office or like even UPS, when they deliver or Amazon, when they deliver my packages, they're not just wearing whatever they want. They drive a Amazon truck. It's got the Amazon logo on the side of it. They've got an Amazon vest, right? They are representatives of Amazon. So if they do something stupid, like, I don't know, they don't deliver your package and just start breakdancing in the middle of the street, just something stupid, they can get fired. Amazon doesn't want their company to be represented by someone like that, right? So, and it's kind of probably a bad example, but what I'm trying to get at is a lot of people, I believe, turn away from religion because of the people that represent that particular belief. And that's where I think people go wrong. And that's not a good thing. If you, let me put it to you this way. You could have like 4 different people. You could have an atheist, a Christian, XYZ, whatever, okay? Belief system. And what it's going to come down to in the eyes of people who don't believe in anything, or they're trying to believe into something, but they just don't know. They're trying to find their way. What I think happens is they're going to view these people, the atheist, the Christian, the XYZ religion, and what I think it comes down to is character. It's going to come down to the actions that they do. Because, this is probably, I don't want to say the wrong thing here, but, I've seen instances where an atheist could have a better character than a Christian. I mean, we're all people, you know what I'm saying? But in certain cases, we might act out. We might say the wrong thing, or we might come off a certain way. Whereas another person of a different religion, or even no religion at all, may come off as a better person because they simply just talk kindly, or they just be kind to other people. And what I think is people are going to gravitate towards that. They're going to gravitate to whoever is probably peaceful, or, whoever's nice to be around. So I think if you belong to whatever religion and you are trying to lead with, if you're trying to use your religion as a weapon, for example, I don't think that's a good thing. If you're trying to use fear tactics, I don't think that's a good thing. And you probably know what I'm talking about. I don't think it's a good idea to use fear to get people to believe something. It's not a good idea. It never works. It never works in the long run. But I think if you use love, for example, good behavior, I think that works. And it doesn't take a lot to prove my point. You look at what Jesus did. I mean, he went around and I believe he performed miracles. But let's just say you believe that he didn't. Okay. Even if he didn't do those things, at the end of the day, he still treated people what? Kindly and with respect. And he preached to love thy neighbor. I mean, I could almost tell you that it probably wouldn't even take a miracle to believe that, or to be drawn to Christianity, just based off of the fact that he's feeding people, taking care of them, giving them advice on how to live better, and bringing people solitude. Simple as that. So it almost pains me to see Christians try to attack other people, especially if they use the Bible as a means to do it. I don't think that's the right way. Men must stand erect, not be kept erect by others. Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, I think he said stand up straight, not straightened, or something like that. I don't know. I got to look more into it. Ryan Holiday talked about it, but I don't think I grasped that idea entirely. I still didn't understand what that meant exactly. You can find wisdom and guidance on every page of the Bible. No, exactly. Well, yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, I'm not trying to talk down on the Bible. I'm absolutely not. But what I can tell you for a fact is that I've read verses before 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and I just still do not understand it or understand what it's trying to tell me. And that can be frustrating. But you're right, though. Bible's full of wisdom. It definitely is. I think at the same time, though, sometimes people do take verses out of context. Because there are some wild verses, bro. There are definitely some wild verses. 100%. That if read by themselves with no context, yeah, you could easily be like, whoa, what? What happened? So you have to approach the Bible with, you can't be lazy reading the Bible. I mean, you got to be focused and you got to really try and work hard to grasp it. Otherwise, you're not going to get the message. People should be able to know by your words and actions what you have. Oh, that you have God in your life. Most Christians aren't living according to the word, and it paints the wrong picture. It's a sad story. Yeah. Yeah. So we've been here a little over an hour now, so we'll hop off here, but hopefully the message makes sense. You know, hopefully you get or got something out of this. I don't see why Stoicism and Christianity can't keep losing this word be compatible. I don't see why not. But again, I want to say this just so I want to make sure the message is clear. At a fundamental level, they believe in different things. But on a practical level, like the little one-liners, you know, tolerant with others, strict with yourself, things like that, those types of things can be compatible. It's not until you get into the more serious matters where they start to diverge. You know, like when Marcus or some of the Stoics, when they talk about the gods, like when I read that, I try to get what they're talking about, but a lot of the times I simply just replace nature with God, and a lot of the times it makes sense. Like there's let me pull up FPT just real quick. Let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about. So right here, this is the verse, not verse. This is the quote that I'm looking for. Can you guys see that on the screen? Yeah, I think so. He says, whenever you close your doors and turn out the lights, remember, never say to yourself that you are alone. You're not. God is inside, and so is your private deity, and neither of them requires light to watch you by. Or this one right here. If we had sense, there is nothing better we could do with our time than praise God and proclaim his good works, whether in public or private. Okay. What's wrong with that? Now, here's the thing, though. He might have referenced or might have been talking about Zeus or nature, because they did use those terms interchangeably. But some of these translations, sometimes they do say Zeus and sometimes they do say God. So if you're reading it through, like I talked about earlier, the lens, right? Which lens are you using? Are you using the lens of a Stoic, or are you using the lens of a Christian? Or are you using the lens of an atheist? I don't know. We're all different, bro. We're all different. But when I read Stoic philosophy, I do use the lens of a Christian. So that's that. So that'll be it for today. I hope you guys found it valuable to some degree or another. And the indices have massively rallied here in the afternoon. So that's cool. That's fine. They've all cleared Friday's high. Okay. I guess we probably won't come down for those lows then. That's what it looks like. I guess not. Yeah, I agree, Willow. So with that being said, stay blessed. And I will see you guys on Tuesday, same time, same place. Drop a like if you got some value before you leave on the way out. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.